Page 35, This Land is Your Land. On page 34, they're introducing you to some music theory. I was a little confused because I thought this popular series was really just a repertoire thing where they just gave you a bunch of songs, popular songs to do. But this kind of thing is in a method book, so I guess maybe this is a method book and I have to cover this too. I don't know. If you understand all this, you can skip ahead in this video to wherever it is when I start talking about the piece on page 35. Otherwise, I'm going to briefly cover the stuff on page 34, and I'm not going to cover a lot of detail here. We could talk for half an hour or more on this stuff, but just a little bit, just to whet your appetite, enough to confuse you. We talk about keys, and the word key has multiple meanings because a piano note, these are piano keys. Each one of these is a key. Piano keys. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about key signatures, keys in music, harmony. The key of C has no sharps or flats, which means you're only using white notes for the key itself. All the white notes. From C to C, actually it's just 7 notes. We usually include the top one to finish it off. So the key of C has the white keys on the piano. Other keys have other stuff. I mean, there's a key for each note, a key signature. We'll get to that later. I have scale videos on all the scales, major and minor scales. I would encourage you to find the playlist on my channel for scales. Bookmark that playlist so you can go right to it. You're going to need it over and over for other stuff. And then find the scale for C major, because we have major and minors. We're talking only major here. Watch the introductory video first, and then there's a key of C, and do the beginner part, the 1 octave up and down. And I do a trill exercise. I talk about accents and dropping the wrist. That's really about the only technique I teach in these videos. It's very important. Do the trill exercise. Don't just skip it. I ain't gonna do that. Please take the time to do the trill exercise. Do the instructions I explain in the beginner portion of those scale videos. I prefer to do that rather than use the music. They've got the scale printed out for you at the top of page 34, and I prefer to concentrate on the keyboard itself. Then at the bottom part they talk about the chords. Primary chords. Every key has 3 primary chords. 1, 4, and a 5, 7. Well, it means nothing. So just briefly, just indulge me for a minute. Any key, we'll have to stick with C major here. The notes in the key are numbered. 1, the first, it's always 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 8th one would be, there's no 8, it's a 1. So there's 7 of these. We call them steps. What is step 4 in the key of C? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an F. So F is step 4 in the key of C. G would be step 5 in the key of C. A would be step 6 in the key of C. Fairly straightforward, I hope. We identify these numbers in Roman numerals. If you look at the bottom of page 34 under the staff, you see the Roman numerals there, 1, 4, 1, 5, 7, 1. That's what they're referring to. These are chords built on that step in the scale. And what it is, we're talking triads for the most part. Every other note, if I built this on the first step of the scale, I just take every other note until I get 3 of them. We call it a 1 chord, identified with the Roman numeral I. I have a 2 chord, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are what those are. Primary chords are the 1 chord, the 4 chords, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5, 7, which starts with the 5th. You start with a 5 chord, and you just add another chord or another note to it. Every other note. Just 4 notes in it, 5, 7 chord. So we're here. Now when we have 4 notes like this in a chord, we usually always need the top and bottom But we don't always need both middles. We can leave one out, either one. I can do that, or I can do that. So there's only 3 notes. That's why you see at the bottom, the 5/7 chord only has 3 notes. Now we can turn these chords over or invert the chords. We rearrange the notes. For instance, I can take the C chord and I can put the C on top. It's still a 1 chord. It's still a C chord. It's just first inversion. I've inverted it 1 time. I do it again and put the E on top. That's second inversion. It's still a C chord. It's whatever the music needs. But as far as identifying the chord, it's a 1 chord. Well, in the 4 chord, I don't want to go from 1 chord to 4 chord. That's moving around too much. So what I do is I take the 4 chord and I put the C on the bottom. And that's second inversion, because this is first inversion, second inversion. That's second inversion, even though I went down, doesn't matter, second inversion. Because now the 1 chord is here and the 4 chord is here. I'm not moving around. It's just real convenient. The hand is right there. Thumb went up. And with the 5/7 chord, rather than here, I'm going to put the G on top. So we're here. So let's go here. Because that way I can go from a 1 chord to a 5/7 chord real easily. I mean, they're right there. The little finger comes down. So I got the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5/7 chord, and the 1 chord. Doesn't matter what order I play them in. The point is, you start with a 1, you end with a 1, good enough. And that's what all that stuff is. You get these chords on page 35. And the idea is we're building this because we're going to explain other things later on. So try and understand what little I've explained here and come back and review this as you need to. And I'll talk about it a lot more. Now, let's talk about this land. It's 4/4 time. One of the things I look at again is the key signature. Now I can say it's in the key of C major, and the major is implied because we got major and minor. If I say key of C, then it's automatically C major. If it's minor, I have to say C minor. Otherwise, it's C major. But it's in the key of C. No sharps or flats, that's what I mean. And we're coming in on beat 2. Well, if you look at the bottom, there's 1 beat in that last measure, and that's the first beat. So let's just check the hands first, 1 hand at a time here. And we're starting here in this position, thumb on C, and it's 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You get the idea? You go through and work out the right hand. Make sure you can count it out and play it okay. You're not moving around, you're right there. And the left hand, we have the chords. You're starting out with the 4 chord here. The idea with these chords, you put your hand in that position and you lower the whole hand down. Don't try and hold the hand still and push the notes down. Let the weight push it down and try and get them down at the same time. Let the wrist collapse a little bit when you do this. Don't play with a stiff wrist. It takes time. It's hard to do. I can't do it. Maybe you can. And at the end of the line, you have the C chord. Then on measure 4, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5/7 chord. You want to get to where you can play these chords in the left hand without looking, eventually. You may have to look at first, but eventually you want to feel them. Now, go down to the last line. Well, the next to the last measure on the 3rd line, it's measure, 11 or so. You're here, it's 1 chord, and then you have to come up here. You're moving. Just lift up and move. Here. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4, 1. See, during the rest I come down. And just in case you're curious, on measure 13 here, that's actually part of a G chord or a 5 chord. The other note is being played by the other hand. We got them all there. It's not a 5/7 chord, it's just a 5 chord. Just in case you're curious. So then you go put the hands together, more or less. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Get the idea? Let's go down to the last line. You're here. Now, well, one measure. Take the last measure of the third line. Here. 2. The right hand is tied. You see the tie? You don't play it again. You hold it down. You come up with the left hand. And as you play the B, the right hand comes up. Right there. So again, this is measure 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Like so. You go through and put the hands together, and then go back through and get rid of the hesitations. You take it at whatever speed you want to, but no hesitations. It has to be a steady beat all the way through. Once you can do that, then we add the articulation, and they don't give you any except for a staccato on the last note. So I'm suggesting to you, go ahead and connect everything that you can connect throughout. Connect all these notes here. The rest make you lift up. So the phrasing is like built in for you, the rest provided. Otherwise, you just connect everything. On the last line, you get a staccato on the first note. That's okay. So let's start on measure 9 here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And connect all this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that's staccato, just boom. Don't accent it, just staccato. Don't play it any louder, just staccato. And the dynamics, the louds and softs. We have a mark for you at the top. For the first verse, you're going to do that one at moderately loud or medium loud, mezzo forte, sort of loud, whatever you think sort of loud is. It's not loud, it's just sort of loud. Keep these chords soft, play them soft. Can you play that soft and that moderately loud at the same time? Until the left hand gets melody, and then it's got to be the same loudness as the right hand. It's like in the second line here. That's all melody, so that has to be the same loud. And then that has to be soft. And the last line, again, this is soft, and you go up to sort of a moderately loud. Get louder, louder, and then that's loud. Right there, because the left hand's got that's hard to do. Maybe it would be easier for you if you only went up to about a moderately soft. Don't get loud. Save that for the right hand. And the last note, you can do that loud on both hands. Then there's a repeat sign at the bottom, which means you go back and play it a whole mess again. And the second time you get the MP for mezzo piano, medium soft, moderately soft, sort of soft, not soft, just sort of soft. There's not a lot of difference between sort of loud and sort of soft, just sort of soft. Makes the left hand very soft. And then when you get down to the bottom, you're going back up to loud. If that's the dynamics given, okay. Again, you got to get to know it well enough and feel it well enough you can feel these dynamics. Speed, it's a happy song. You know, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. It's got to be accurate. No hesitations anyway, so I'll leave that up to you. You don't have to. If that's your fast or your lively, good enough. Depends on how much coffee I've had or something. like to play it with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics, but we will do it twice. So the moment, 1, 2, however fast we're going, that last chord is 1, 2 is right there. So, there's no hesitation when you repeat. The beat goes on, so be ready. I'm going to give us 5 counts because we come in on beat 2. Now let's just do it together slowly. Make sure you're playing the same notes and rhythms that I'm doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. 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 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.